comes from a family of entrepreneurs, and I cannot wait to hear her story today. So welcome, Katie, to No Guts, No Glory Live.
Yeah, thanks, Patty. I so appreciate it. It's exciting to be here. It's an honor. I really appreciate you inviting me, and yeah, I hope I do a good job sharing whatever I can.
So we are live, and to everyone watching, please start a watch party today so we can get this message out to all those who need to hear it. Katie and I actually work together at NGNG Enterprises, and she is also a coach with Kaizen Coaching as well. So Katie, will you tell us a little bit more about what it is you do?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, I am a business coach. I have been for, wow, is it almost 2 years now? But prior to that, I started a couple businesses and have always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I tried to convince myself I didn't for quite a long time. And as you know, I have to learn lessons the hard way. But yeah, so I currently am coaching. I am running a VA company with Mary, which is really exciting. It's really fun to do that and build that community and help serve business owners, because it's really hard to work, and when you're working in your business and instead of working on your business, there's a difference. And so we have found that virtual assistants really free up some time for business owners so they can do the things that they're best at, so they can move forward and help their business grow, which is really important, especially in times right now. But so I'm a serial entrepreneur and business coach, and I love it.
Now, do you also do something related to fitness? Are you somewhat of a fitness coach, or were you a fitness coach in the past?
Yeah, so way back when, that's kind of when my first business started. Is I graduated from college, and we had a sudden life event. My husband actually lost his father. It was my boyfriend at the time, but we've been together since we were 19. Lost his father, and I was on a path to potentially go to law school. I worked in politics in Iowa, so it was a really fast-paced life, and my husband lost his father, and it kind of made me stop and rethink where I was going, what I was doing, because there's a lot of politics is interesting, right? So I found out that's not where I wanted to be, and I wanted to kind of be more connected to people and authentic. And so I actually started teaching Pilates and started a personal training business working for a company here in Kansas City, and became connected to a lot of very successful entrepreneurs in Kansas City, and I loved it. I was a college athlete, so that was kind of something I loved to do. So that was my first taste of being an entrepreneur, is building that business really quickly, and I loved it. But it didn't stick, because I needed more. I needed to challenge myself more. And I became a nurse. I went to health and worked in healthcare. And then from there we got married and had children. And that's when I needed something more flexible. Started and was home for a couple of years, and then started a couple companies with my husband, and then my own. And we've been kind of plugging away ever since.
So Katie, part of the NGNG Live series is I'm hoping that by bringing guests on like yourself, that we can help others or viewers who are watching to find the strength within themselves to go out and follow their passions and reach their professional goals and dreams and really do something that they love to do and earn an income while doing it. So will you tell us about a time in your career that took guts?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. In light of going live with you today, I was pondering that question, and I feel like there are themes in life where you have challenges and really kind of difficult times that you face that actually lead to you taking that jump and lead to you making a change, and in spite of fear, or despite the fear that you might feel. And I feel like there are numerous times where I've done that, and a lot of them have been when I've started new career endeavors. So when I started my first business, I was actually network marketing, and that was really scary. It was totally out of the box, but had a lot of success with it. And then again, stepping into coaching, that was sort of something I wasn't wasn't in the cards, but I felt, called to do it. And it served me well, because look, I'm here today because of it. And again, and this year, 2020, I mean, we could all write a book about 2020. Like all of us have been. And even in the struggles of 2020, and looking at, my 3 children and my husband, and how businesses can change overnight, like everything you thought and believed and trusted in changed overnight. And again, from that came another time of jumping into like a passion project now that's kind of turned into a business that is, again, I said I'm a serial entrepreneur. And so it's those troubling times that cause you to stop, which I think the hard times are what lead us to leap, right? To leap into something. And so I think that it's more when you're in that discomfort, it's time to jump and to go towards it. And so again, there's been numerous times where I have, and every single time it's painful, but it's worth it. It's more painful to stay than it is to go towards the dreams, right? Or to go towards something that's better, but the belief that it's better, and it can be, and it will be.
That's a really interesting point. It is more painful to stay, right? And the longer you wait, the longer it's going to take to really do or find that thing that you love to do. So do you ever find that you get scared when you're thinking about making a change? You talked about going into, network marketing. Did you know anything about network marketing before going into that, or even becoming a career coach? Did you have any fears, like, what if I have no clients, or what if I don't know how to coach the client on a particular situation? How do you overcome some of those fears or thoughts, or do they even ever enter your mind at all? Or
Of course, I think doubt is the one thing we all share, right? I think fear and doubt is something that we all possess, and no matter how successful or accomplished you are. I mean, I'm sure Steve Jobs stared fear in the face all the time, right? But he chose to ignore it. He chose to step forward and continue to move forward with it. And I think that it's just a decision, and having people around you to support you in jumping and making that decision. And for me, I personally am one of those people where if I'm not being challenged, I'm not satisfied. And it's one of those, like, I think I look back and it's like from being I think as an athlete, it was just ingrained in me to like challenge yourself, to push yourself, because there's greatness on the other side of it. And business is no different, or whatever your career endeavors are, it's no different. Even as a parent, you get through that like temper tantrum. On the other side of it, you know what I mean? You're all gonna like, come to this place of, we're in a better place, and you snuggle with the kid or whatever it is, it's hard, but on the other side, there's greatness. I really believe that.
do you ever find there's times where you don't feel challenged, and then how do you then, I guess, try to challenge yourself? You have a lot going on. You take care of yourself physically, right? So you continue to do that. You're a mom of 3, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're helping with the VA agency side of Kaizen. And then, you're also a career coach. I mean, there is a lot running a household, right? There's a lot going on. So what do you do sometimes, I guess? I mean, that in and of itself sounds really challenging, trying to manage all of those different facets of life. But what do you do sometimes if you find like you're kind of at a low, or maybe you're feeling a little bored or not excited? Is there something you do then to try to get that excitement going?
Yeah, I think honestly, I was thinking about that too. I Prior to this call or this Zoom, I think for me, I find other ways to add a level of complexity to what I'm doing, or I start something else, like, you know what I mean, that complements whatever I'm doing it. So for me, like if I'm working out, it's like I'm going to make a fitness goal or a workout goal that I'm going to achieve, like training for a marathon, like, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm already training, but I'm going to train for a marathon now. So if it's, we have a VA agency, we're going to build it and achieve, like, we set markers for Q1 of next year, and in COVID, it's like we, like for in COVID, not being able to see loved ones and not being able to see them, it's like, okay, so there's something here, you know what I mean? So you take that idea and then you make it into a solution oriented, way to deal with what's going on around you. Does that make sense? Like you become proactive in identifying ways to make it better, or to make it more challenging so it's more interesting, or whatever it is. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you know what? I love the idea too of setting goals. Maybe it's time to set higher goals or more challenging goals, right? When you're feeling comfortable.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I think that's when it becomes great to have business partners or accountability partners that are like, okay, so we've done this. We're at the end of we're at Q4. What's Q1, Q2? What do we want that to look like? Like I mean, obviously, this is the time to have those conversations. And ultimately, like personally, what do you want to accomplish personally? What is your personal goal aside from being a mom, a spouse, like what is it, and so identifying that early on so that you're intentional with your time.
So, as a career coach, what type of clients do you typically work with?
Yeah. So the clients that I have worked with, they have all tended to be women, interestingly enough, but they are all small business owners. And they've been women that have been passionate about making an imprint in their world, in the world around them. Like they haven't all been local here to me, and they've kind of started their business from like grassroots ground and then the ground up, and it's all something they're passionate about, and they tend to be service oriented, and a lot of the women I work with tend to be moms. So it's kind of funny. It's like the people I've worked with tend to mirror who I am, right? So it's not intentional, but I've attracted those sort of clients.
Is there any sort of advice you see that you're giving somewhat consistently to your clients that perhaps might apply to a lot of entrepreneurs out there who are watching?
Hmm. I mean, I think it's constantly like what I've seen consistently is people questioning and sort of identifying why they do what they do.
Mm.
And because there are days that are hard for any business owner or in anybody's life, and so it's like identifying why and what are the non-negotiables in their life, right? So their non-negotiables are, I'm not going to work every weekend, I'm not going to miss everything, my kids' soccer games or whatever they are, so helping people identify what those are and why they're doing what they're doing so that they are motivated and they keep the end goal in mind, right? They keep what matters at the forefront.
So, talking about 2020, it has been just an interesting year for sure, especially for entrepreneurs. I mean, just everything's changed and it's been so hard to predict what's going to happen, right? We do our best, we try to make predictions and try to pivot based on what's going to happen. But we really don't know, right, what's going to happen next month in 2021. I think we all sort of have some thoughts and ideas. But do you have any advice to entrepreneurs who are watching to help prepare for 2020 or 2021? Really, the new year's right around the corner. Any tips you can offer to those watching, just to try to stay positive, get through it, right? I think it's going to be a long winter.
Yeah, I do too. It's kind of funny. I was talking to my children and my husband. I was like, I really kind of feel like this mask thing is going to be around for a while. Like I don't, maybe even next year, which is kind of interesting. And, the thought of social distancing being kind of a normal thing is a little bit overwhelming. But I do think the way we practice businesses and the way we gather in groups will be changed for quite a while, unfortunately. And so helping business owners like identify what that means for their business, whether they're an event oriented business and they need to become a virtual platform, whether their message used to be getting in front of clients and now it's in video, it's, digital. Like how can you maximize your business in a digital capacity? And I think even relationships. So how can you maximize not only in business, but look at business as this thing? Because again, we woke up in 2020 and one day a lot of businesses went away. You know what I mean? And so looking at not only your business, but who you are outside of your business and how can you ensure that you're, I would hate to say the word balanced, but how do you make sure that you're putting energy not just into your business, but also into your relationships, and preserving them, because they can change so quickly, or your ability to see people can change so quickly, which is, I feel like what 2020 taught us is you can't take for granted anything, our time, our physical, spatial like connection to people. Like, I mean, it's been a crazy, crazy ride.
Yeah, I love that you brought up connection. So one thing that I've been sort of thinking about, Thanksgiving is just a couple days away, and I am feeling a little more isolated this year. We live in Colorado. My family's all in California. And so I'm kind of used to not spending Thanksgiving with the family. Occasionally, right, we'll have family come in and visit, which is great. But usually we're inviting our friends and neighbors, and man, I'm so bummed out. I kind of feel it like a little bit more now. I mean, granted, we've all sort of been isolated for a while, but the weather's been nice and we've at least been outside and the kids have been able to play, but it's colder. It snowed last night here
Oh, it
in Fort
did?
Collins. And yeah. So I'm feeling, a little bit more heaviness or a little bit more
Yeah.
weight coming into the holiday. I swear I've done like all the spring cleaning, organizing, minimizing, right? We've had all kinds of time to do all of that. And so I'm kind of feeling like, oh, well, what now?
Yeah.
Any tips to people watching who are feeling some of that heaviness or maybe some of that loneliness, right? I am blessed. I have my husband and my 2 children here, and we've seen a lot of each other since
Yeah.
the spring. But even still, any thoughts to people watching who are just kind of feeling some of that loneliness? How can we maybe get out of that funk when we really start to recognize it and feel it coming over?
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel it too. I mean, we are not getting together with, I mean, we'll see my in-laws, but we won't get to see Jay's extended family or my family, just because we have some immune compromised people in our family. So it's just not, it's
Mm.
too risky. But but I agree. And actually, because of COVID, it's made me evaluate, like, how connected am I to my family, to my roots? Well, my children, will FaceTime with my parents, and we've seen my parents, but will they, do they remember them? Will they remember these stories? And so I would encourage people to kind of like spend time and digging, like connecting to their family, even if it's over Zoom or FaceTime, and talk about your favorite Thanksgiving traditions that you've had for years.
Aw.
You know what I mean? So that maybe one day
Yeah.
you can. And so your favorite holiday traditions. I had a special, last Friday was very special for me. I did an interview with my mother-in-law, and as I mentioned, my husband lost his father when we were 22, and so my husband has said oftentimes, like, I can't remember my dad's voice, I can't remember his like face, like it's like this
Mm.
pain point for him. And so and he was 22, right? And so my children are 8, 5 or 8, 6 and 2 and 3, and so the thought that they might not remember grandparents is very likely, right? If something happens tragically, God forbid, in the next, couple of years or whatever. So what we've done is we've captured my family, my mother-in-law and I did it for my dad too, their stories, their legacy, like their family traditions, what their family history, like their little stories that I maybe knew this much about. Then we kind of dove in and we captured it on film, and it's something that it's such a treasure for us and my family, because it's like, now that will never be like lost, and it's not only from me like saying my dad's stories, it's from my dad telling his story, you know what I mean, and and it's like the best treasure in the whole world. So you might not be able to dive into the whole story of your family, but maybe pick 5 things that you want to have and capture, and do it over Zoom or FaceTime and write them down, and maybe create what you think next year could look like.
That is such a great idea. We all have Zoom now. You can record these calls. Oh
Yeah.
my God, why not interview different family members? Have them tell funny stories. I mean, even if it's not your parents or aunts and uncles or grandparents, but why not even your brothers and sisters, right? Or get your best friends on the line, right? Tell some of those
Yeah.
stories that maybe you'll keep those like stored away for a little while. But oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
But
I love that
But look, you're
idea
like,
so
your face
much.
is lighting up. Your face is
Yes.
lighting up, Patty, just thinking about it. Like, we all need those moments of joy to hold on to when it's like, oh,
What a great way to spend the day or spend the time. So, oh my gosh, Katie, that was amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to us. I really appreciate you. And I'm just
Thank you,
so
Patty.
grateful to be working with you and the Kaizen team. It's just such an exciting time. And I wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. And to
Thank
everybody
you.
watching, I mean, take some time for you, set goals for 2021. It's a great time to do it. If you are feeling, lonely and isolated, perhaps you can't hop on those Zoom calls. Why not start thinking about ways that you could serve others? If it's sending a DM or sending a text message and just telling people how grateful you are for them, you'll definitely lift somebody's spirits. You'll make them feel great. And I think at the same time, you'll feel good too. So have a wonderful holiday weekend. We're just a couple days away. And thank you, everybody. Enjoy.